What if I told you starting over doesn't have to be this life overhaul, daunting situation? What if this is the opportunity to wipe the slate clean? I'll be real, starting over after a major life challenge, whether it is a divorce that you're going through, you lost your job, you're facing cancer, or another significant health challenge, these are not small things. These can significantly disrupt our nervous system and even disrupt kind of what we initially thought life was gonna be. Like, this is not my vision board. But what if this is exactly what you need? That pretty much cleared everything that wasn't useful for you. They're no longer aligned with who you are. Clear the path in a direction of where you actually want to be. That's something that you want to explore. Maybe go on a little inner adventure on together. We're gonna break it down. Grab yourself a matcha, grab yourself whatever it is that makes you feel nice and warm and cozy and comforting. Let's hit the reset button together. First things first, cancer was the major wake-up call for me. I'm not saying that before cancer my life was drastically different or that I was unhealthy or anything like that. However, I did have a skewed perspective on what being healthy meant. It was pretty much confined to what you do in the gym and what you do in the kitchen and really nothing else. It takes something like cancer to put a halt on everything. That was the pause I needed. Permission slip, actually, to rest and recharge and ask this question I've never asked myself before at the age of 32. If this cancer treatment doesn't work and I don't actually get past the next few days, have I lived the life that I am proud of? Have I lived a good life? Just to share a quick answer with you, I said yes. Because I said yes to so many things in life. And that was the thing. You have to say yes to things in life when you do have the energy, when you do have the enthusiasm for, and you have the drive to do it. Because ultimately, if you haven't said yes to so many things, if you haven't put yourself out there and done trial and error and experiment and explore and go on adventures, don't know what you're capable of. Probably even though there were sides of you that you didn't expect to exist. Whatever form this wake-up call takes for you in your life, this could be the beautiful first step of an unknown intervention coming in and say, we need to talk. Do you have time now? That's okay, because I just cleared your schedule. Now, this talk is probably going to be one of the hardest talks that you will ever have with anyone, particularly yourself. This is an invitation to bring courage to the table, bring fear to the table, your ambitions and dreams and sense of adventure to the table. It is a council meeting. On the agenda of this council meeting, there are going to be several main topics. Some of these may resonate with you, some of these may not, and that's okay. But ultimately, it is really truly getting to know yourself again. I know it sounds cliche, hear me out. In getting to know yourself again, I had to understand what exactly is important for me, what truly matters. I was going at full speed for a dream in my career. I was going at full speed trying to move from Asia to Europe, trying to recover from my second divorce, experimenting with different fasting protocols. So now you put a distance between all of those things that you were on autopilot for, strip all of those associations and identities, and arrive naked, metaphorically. This is you. You get to start over. I remember when I was laying on that hospital bed about to start my first chemo. It was the first time I talked to God again. And I remember part of this dialogue revolved around, this is my chance to get a new body. This is my chance to start over. And God, please give me the strength and courage or whatever it is else that I need to do this, and I will go all in on this. And sometimes you need to articulate that. Think those words and say it out loud. Maybe you need to tell someone. Maybe you need to write it down. Whatever that may be, it just needs to reflect back to you, because that's what was reflecting back to me. And in that moment, I felt something shift. It's not one of those like, big shift, but something definitely clicked. That switch, that shift is key to how this council meeting is gonna go. I didn't have the answers in the first meeting. It took several check-ins, several conversations with myself, several development of that conversation to finally align with something that feels affirming and true. And that's okay. Sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves and needing to have the answers right now, this minute. If I don't have it right now, it's not even worth it. Along the way, I realized I wanted to reconnect with myself. And in reconnecting with myself, I needed to understand myself better. There are several ways, methods, tools, and environments that we can put ourselves in when it comes to getting to know ourselves, even having a hand in creating our reality, creating a new life by design. I started with something that was most tangible. When I went through cancer, I had lost all of my hair twice, which meant I got to start over twice. You know, I'm saying twice, just referring to the hair, but there's really many, many times that we get to find opportunities in starting over. But facing the mirror every day and looking at your own photos every day, filming yourself, taking photos of yourself throughout this entire journey can probably go both ways. One way is, I can't stand looking at myself this way. I just want to forget this era of my life. I don't ever want to look at this again. And the other perspective is, this is probably going to be the chapter where I'm going to be the strongest. This is going to be a chapter of the most unknown ever. This is going to be the wildest adventure because I have no plans, no expectations even. And I had one job: to stay alive. Of course I would document that. Of course I want to remember this era. And of course I want to find lessons and plug wisdom out of this, because this has become my greatest teacher. Whatever that journey is for you, whatever this chapter, this era is for you, this could be your greatest teacher. This teacher could teach you to face your fears, identify your fears. What may be your perceived fear before may not actually be your real fear. On a deep, deep level for me, my deep fear was saying goodbye to my family. Having that realization completely shift the way I see relationships. People that you choose and see as family, chosen family. These are your very close friends, people you can call when you're at the depths of your despair. How I see work relationships, how I see acquaintance relationship, how I see different tiers of friendships. It truly decluttered all the things that I thought were important but were not actually important. Now, you might have thought this too, because I certainly thought that. When you have to start over in whatever it is that you have to do, it meant that you had failed. What if this failed factor is actually the key to the next level? If something is categorized as a failure by society, and of course our beliefs most of the time can be influenced by societal standards depending on our environment, it can truly influence how we handle those setbacks, if we even see them as setbacks. Marriage and divorce, for example. For the longest time, the success of a marriage was longevity. Regardless of quality, it was always longevity first. And I used to subscribe to that. It wasn't until I have experienced 2 marriages myself, experienced 2 divorces, that I've come to conclude the success of a relationship falls in how safe we feel with each other, the quality and care that we show each other, and the intention of choosing each other. I learned a set of lessons from my first marriage that I was able to bring with me to my second marriage. I applied those lessons and experiences, and the second marriage ended in divorce for a whole set of different reasons. For me, that was a sign of growth. Every relationship between and after those chapters have all been more or less different. But the relationship I am in right now is probably the most different. There's one thing that I can share from this relationship. I have thought about quitting this relationship probably more times than I'd like to admit, but that's the truth. And I've told my partner this before. In practice, to notice that that's actually a past conditioning that I don't actually want can be such a helpful tool that can carry over to other areas in your life, whether it's at work, whether it's dealing with health, whether it's dealing with financial behavior, whether it's with friendship, and of course within romantic relationships. If you can look at your past behavior and recognizing that it's surfacing right now, it's happening right now, so the thing that makes sense would be, oh, I guess it's time to try something different. It may not be easy, it may not be something you're used to or have experienced in, but it's truly time to try something different. Can we talk about manifesting a life that truly aligns, makes you feel like this is where I'm meant to be? I have never connected with this word until legit maybe 5 years ago. Before cancer and a couple years after cancer, it was not within my lingo. I recognize now I've been in survival mode for decades. When you're in survival mode, it is hard to even dream or manifest or even have hope, or that you have the power to redesign your life. There were lessons I needed to learn, experiences I needed to live through. There were opportunities I needed to take in order for me to arrive at a state where now there's clarity. Now I can connect with a sense of something, be it a purpose, be it a reason. This is the one thing that you could do, and that is to look back. Look back at all of the events in your life that have happened, that you remember feeling sad about, that you were deeply upset, that truly angered you. You categorize them as, that was a really tough time. Hard chapter. And I invite you to look back on those times, see yourself in the third person perspective, and observe what were the strengths that came up that helped you get through those times. It may not be the same attribute throughout each situation, but you might see a pattern. But if you can see a pattern, it can give you so much information about yourself right now that you need to get through this chapter of starting over, which ties into a sense of belief and trust in yourself. That is key for the practice of manifestation. In this deep connection stage, now you get to truly recall back how you feel, the sensations, how that manifests in your body and your action and your thought process, having an influence on what happens next, helping you feel connected. I won't say connected with what specifically, because I think that translates into something different for everyone. Just connected. Now, how do we actually integrate them in our daily life? What does it look like on a day-to-day basis, connecting with who I am? Writing has definitely helped me with this. The types of writing that has helped me are 3 significant types. One type is akin to the morning pages. This form of writing is pretty much a brain dump. First thing in the morning. Uncensored writing. You don't even need to make grammatical sense. The thoughts are going to go through 100 miles an hour. Let them flow. Do not filter yourself. And don't reread it unless you're a brave soul. The second form of writing that really helped is writing to a younger version of myself. Writing unsent letters to people who have hurt you in the past. I did this practice a lot when I was going through my trauma healing chapter, which I'm not going to go into. Writing those unsent letters had done wonders. I felt lighter, I felt less burdened, have the energy to go forward without having some reserved energy for carrying this weight. Within this writing to the history, of course, it's writing to my younger self. Don't remember much of my childhood, and I know psychologists have a theory of if you don't remember much of your very young childhood, like younger than 12, don't have a lot of memory of that, except for the unpleasant ones. So it takes effort to really go through those years, identify which were the ones that play a big part in the narrative that you have for yourself, the way you talk to yourself. It has helped me heal that connection, heal that relationship within myself, relationship with my inner child, with my inner parent, and my inner adult, and all help me connect better with my higher self. And the last form of writing is a manifestation writing. I have 3 separate notebooks for this, by the way. Keep the manifestation journal as something that is aesthetically pleasing, something that can trigger immediately a state of feel-goodness. You want to be in that state when you are putting yourself and connecting to the feelings that you actually want in your design life. And as you write out in this journal, there's no rush. It's just you and your higher self having this wonderful chat. So that's the one habit of writing with different ways. The second practice that helps me channel a more kinesthetic connection with my body is movement. Movement is a giant umbrella of any sort of movement. It could look like going out for a walk, going for a CrossFit workout, pole dancing classes, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or whatever it is that you call your movement. For me, I use different types of movement to channel and to evoke different state of feelings. I know you can probably clock me on how many times I've said the word feeling, but it feels right. There's one more movement that is a powerful way to integrate my desire to reconnect with my femininity, with my body, accepting my body, my changing body, with the way I see myself, the way I talk to myself, and the way I treat myself. And that is some form of sensual movement. This could be on the floor, freely, not following any style or choreography. Free form, you allow your energy to move through you, and it's all real, it's all you. And pole dancing. I'm not talking about pole dancing where you bust out gymnastic tricks and incredible splits. Those are all fine and dandy, and those are all wonderful. But I bring up pole dancing because for me, it has always been a way to deal with sexual assault. It is a safe way for me to express myself and move my body without the threat of another person. There's so much permission and space there for you to explore on what's possible. Get to know that side of you. Doesn't matter what gender you are, we all got that side of it. I've been a movement educator and movement coach for 20 years. So if you want me to expand on any of those, let me know in the comments. The next habit that I've integrated, and it's a big part of my life now, is some form of gratitude practice or prayer practice. I know they're not the same. They're very different. For me, it makes sense to have it together. Well, I grew up in a Christian household, but I didn't really connect with that faith and that practice on a deep soul level. It was just more on the, family got to go to church on Sundays. All right, I'll go to church on Sundays. When you feel scared, you start praying to God, and that's the only time you pray to God. Now, surprisingly, starting to pray again didn't actually feel hard. If anything, it felt natural to open up a dialogue and just being deeply honest. No fear of judgment. You have full permission to make mistakes. The only requirement here is to be honest. And truly, you don't have to do this at the church, kneeling on your knees and putting your head down in your hands. Especially if you share a household with someone who doesn't share this same practice, who doesn't share the same belief. It can make you feel like you might not be accepted. And I understand that. But there are ways that you can weave into your day. Through experimentation, I found that what really works for me is practicing it either first thing in the morning while I'm still in bed and kind of half asleep, right before I go to sleep when I'm already in bed. Put your hands on your belly and your heart. You could pay attention to your breathing. And this is a moment just for you. You don't have to say out loud, but being intentional with those thoughts, that's key. And when I'm practicing this, the sense of gratitude naturally occurs. When I'm being honest and intentional with my thoughts, I naturally want to choose the ones that I want. Now, the last practice habit that I'm going to share in this video is meditation. Like writing, like journaling, I've also experimented with different types of meditation and selected 3 that I vibe with. These are the types that I've kind of put on my menu, which has the movement snacks and the journaling methods. One method is integrated with breathwork. Even within the menu of breathwork, there's several different types, so I won't make this part too long, but it's really just exploring different types of breathwork and choosing one that really feels good for you. Experimenting with different types of meditation and then choosing 1 or 2 that suits you and meet your needs. The 2 types of breath works that I like, one is called pranayama. The other is the Kundalini awakening. But what both of them do is shift your state. And by shifting your state into something that is more ready to go into meditation, can make meditation less resistant. When I first started trying to meditate 10 years ago, I started using the app Headspace. And you know, on Headspace, you can choose how many minutes that you want to meditate for. I was stuck at 1 minute for like the longest time.
At the time, I wasn't as open to certain practices that I've talked about in this video.
So identifying what type of meditation meets your needs right now is important. Finding ways to integrate it is important. Breath work with meditation for me was for when I have created a time block for 30 minutes to an hour and I don't feel like I'm rushing. By the way, I do expand on these ideas in my newsletter. That's a place where I get to share some tips, experiments, what have worked for me, some life updates, some cancer updates, and sometimes more of a letter from me to you, especially on taking all the information and integrating into daily habits and practices so you can design a life that turns you on. If that's something you like, there's a link below where you can join and subscribe to the newsletter. Being here today, believe in yourself, and know that we're all in this together.